Yes. All right. My name is Zemmels. This is Parental Advisory, Music Censorship versus Creative Expression. You want to talk about rock and roll, huh?
Yeah.
You want to know why rock and roll was born, when and where it was? Like the little baby Jesus of the United 50 that half the 50 wanted to kill and half followed in an enlightened frenzy. To do that, we'd have to talk about conflict, kiddies, and we'd have to talk about compromise. And in the middle of those two C's, we'd need the baby C, censorship. Let me pitch it to you this way. 1963, Kennedy was dead 77 days and the war was still alive. Kids were being raised in a world of black and white, sucking on the same old popular culture instead of a rubber nickel in a bottle. The country was in a funk, no way around it. People, particularly our nation's youth, were in conflict with their parents' ideas, which had grown intolerably stale to them. It was like this national spiritual depression. That's how you knew something was about to happen. With man's long-standing history of revamping itself, of compromising its old ways in favor of the new and the fresh, that's how you knew it was time. Looking back now, it seems so obvious. And the subconscious army of the same old suburban scene was about to break into a terrifying adolescence. They needed something. Welcome to the Ed Sullivan Show and the sounds of the 60s. In the 1960s, it would have been appropriate to say that Ed Sullivan was the leading general of this army of the Restless Generation. If rock and roll was a religion, he was an agent of the prophets, finding under rocks and leaves the scribes of the scriptures. His TV show brought to the average American living room exactly what it was the generation needed. He brought us the Fabulous Four, presenting Messrs. Ringo Starr, John Lennon, Paul McCartney, and George Harrison, otherwise known as the Beatles, the bull-headed Brits who helped propel American rock and roll into the social phenomenon that impacted fashion, attitude, and language as surely as the best prophets ever did. That didn't mean our little rockin' baby had it easy now. Oh no, mostly because a large portion of Sullivan's viewers were not on good terms with what early rockers had to say. Issue number 1. Drugs. 1967, the Doors appeared on Ed Sullivan. Jim Morrison, whom we all know as the singer of the Doors, was representative of controversial rock ideals, especially when he was questioned about the lyrics to the song, Light My Fire. You know that I will be untrue. You know that I will be a lie if I didn't say to you, girl, we couldn't get much. Word higher was supposed to go there. Let me ask you this. What does that word mean to you, word higher? Ever since I was a little boy, I know what word higher meant to me. It meant higher on a swing set. Higher. Now Sullivan, we get on his show, wants me to change the word, because the drugs ruined it for him. So 10 minutes before we go on, we get told, hey, you got to change the word to something else. Now I'm the poet, in quotes. I'm the poet, I just got to think of something. When approached after the performance and publicly humiliating Mr. Sullivan on his own show, the Doors were informed that they would have had 7 more performances on Ed Sullivan had they not used the word higher. It was at this time that Mr. Morrison replied with a concise, amen, we just did the Ed Sullivan Show. And with that, the Doors went down in history as a band that inspired, if not invented, the phrase, sex, drugs, and rock and roll, baby. Doors weren't the only ones who knew how to break the rules, though. Issue number 2, criticism. Social criticism. 1963, Bob Dylan appeared at Sullivan Studios to sing Talking. John wrote Parental, blues, but CBS wouldn't let him. He refused to change the lyrics to the song, and the conflict ended with him walking off the show, never to return. Barry McGuire's You Don't Believe We're on the Eve of Destruction was banned for its criticism of the Vietnam War and other social ills. Edwin Starr's Whoa! What is it good for? Absolutely nothing. It was censored for the same reason. But no song was so innately corrupting, so basely wrong, so intolerably crude as the children's song. From Peter, Paul, and Mary, and the song was censored for advocating drug use. The only band who seemed capable of compromise on Sullivan's show was the Rolling Stones. In 1967, they appeared at Sullivan Studios to sing "Let's Spend the Night Together," but fearing the song referred to issue number 3, S, they were asked to change the lyrics to "Let's Spend Some Time Together." But the Rolling Stones made their dissatisfaction clear by rolling their stony eyes each time they sang the edit. Some compromise. To the conservative paradigm, rock and roll was characterized as everything that was wrong with American youth. It was deemed immoral, distorted, monotonous music. Suddenly the conflict in Vietnam was not only in Vietnam, it was here at home. For youth, rock and roll became a haven of lyrical calls for peace and an end to the conflict in Vietnam. Rock and roll became not only a style of music, but a lifestyle, a vibrant subculture thriving on the perpetual and ever-transient all-American dissatisfaction. The conflicts and compromises of the music in the 60s, in a sense, became the uniting factor that helped bring an end to the war in Vietnam. Eventually, others joined the conflict, and society realized they needed to find their own compromise, one of which being the withdrawal of troops from Vietnam in 1972. On May 30th, 1971, Ed Sullivan performed his very last really big show. But the conflicts and compromises of the music in the 60s continued as the music of the 70s and 80s evolved with its punk rock and heavy metal influences. Punk rock became a giant red target for censorship, being blatantly coarser and extremely political in comparison to the music that came before it. Then came heavy metal, which has existed in infamy since its birth as a style of music that is distinctly darker, heavier, and to some disturbing. These styles of music took musical rebellion to a whole new level of conflict, and angry parents and religious leaders decided to take a stand. Check this out. You ever seen this before? This little thing, right here. This is your mama's compromise. This is how your mama knows what's going in Little Billy's CD player. Parental advisory, explicit lyrics. Parental advisory was birthed by a group of high-power Washington wives in 1986, christening themselves the Parents Music Resource Center, or the PMRC. Now, the real mom music members was Tipper Gore, wife of a guy we all know. Who was it? That's right, Al Gore. Hello, my name is Tipper Gore, and I represent the PMRC. We believe that today's popular music, especially hard rock, punk rock, and heavy metal music, is partially responsible for the perceived contemporary increase in violent rape, teen pregnancy, and teen suicide. Our mission is to educate and inform parents about the growing trend in music whose conflicting lyrics are excessively violent, sexually explicit, or glorified use of drugs and alcohol. Today's rock music conflicts with the morals and values of the nuclear family in America. A hearing ensued, and all the big rock artists, such as Dee Snider of Twisted Sister and Mr. Frank Zappa, were called in to, as Mr. Snider put it, carry the flag into battle. Of course, no actual battle ensued, but our buddy Zappa did get his opportunity to prove he was no dunderheaded rocker. The conflict with establishing a rating system for music, voluntary or otherwise, is that it opens the door to an endless parade of moral quality control programs based on things certain Christians don't like. Another conflict, since many musicians write and perform their own material, an imposed rating will conflict with individual styles. How long before composers and performers are told to wear a festive little PMRC armband with their scarlet letter on it? I think you should leave it up to the parents, because not all parents want to keep their children totally ignorant. In the end, both arguments were taken into account, and the music industry came up with its most recent compromise between an artist's freedom and a parent's concern. Parental advisory, explicit lyrics. From Sullivan's stage to the Senate hearings, rock and roll has aroused the question, how free is free speech? That question will always cause conflict, and for the music industry and the PMRC, the compromise became the voluntary regulation of music by the music industry. Hence the parental advisory sticker, the symbol of the conflicts and compromises between music censorship and creative expression.